It's still 0 out of 15.
0 to 0.
It should be
Because it's
0 out of
just
15. I do think this is wrong.
Okay.
And I've taught this a lot, and I've thought about it a lot, and I know, and I kind of went round and round at first, and I'm like, no, it should be 0. It's a distance matrix. If it were a similarity matrix, then it would be 1. All right, good questions. All right, phylogenetic trees. So you can have a rooted tree or an unrooted tree. The primary difference is a rooted tree comes back to some sort of ancestor. Organism Z was back here, and that was the ancestor for all B, D, C, and A. Okay, so let me go through just a couple more slides really quickly, and I'll let y'all go. I think everyone's getting tired. So if you have a case of a phylogenetic tree here, or let me just draw one of a really simplified phylogenetic tree. Okay? Where you have relationships of organisms. Okay? A, B, C, D, E. Okay? D and E are very closely related to each other. They are both next closely related to C. And then the next group is A and B are closely related to each other, which are more distantly related from C, D, and E. All right. So under normal rules of macroorganism evolution, we would assume some sort of linear evolutionary trajectory, some sort of linear evolutionary trajectory where the genes of this common ancestor, Z, whatever, back here, moved linearly up through whatever this node organism was, okay, and then speciated out into A and to B. All right? We give our genes to our children. That is a rule. The rule that I've been pounding into your heads though with microbes doesn't work so well. They give their genes to anybody that wants them. All right? So now, species A could easily give its genes to B. Here, that could have happened there. Anywhere you can, maybe not there, maybe wherever. You get the point. Okay? They can change their genes across phylogenetic relationships, thus making what we would normally think is an evolutionary tree of life much more like a tangled web. All right? So you can have, in this case, we have a really nice phylogenetic relationship between, here we have just 4 organisms at the end of these branches. But what they're saying in this cartoon is that there may have been multiple steps across where even though these guys have long since diverged evolutionarily, they're now sharing genes, okay, across that through different steps in different organisms, okay? There may be multiple intermediaries in between that occurred sharing of those genes long after they truly evolutionarily diverged at that node. So horizontal gene transfer is going to make what was otherwise a very tidy phylogenetic tree look much more like a web. Okay? And then this goes back to nice things like the evolution of the eukarya when plastids, chloroplasts, and mitochondria evolved as they got shared across. All right. Okay. So what you can do with this, the last universal common ancestor is basically on our little tree here, it's organism Z. With respect to microorganisms, the last universal common ancestor was very likely the bacteria. We put the root of the domain, the tree of life, in the domain bacteria. And they know this because they've gone through and they've sequenced so much, and they can go through and look and figure out which one was the most common fragment. Okay, the most common sequence, excuse me. All right, so we put with respect to all organisms, we put that, even though we think of archaea as ancient and living in all these primordial soup-type environments, we really put that in the bacteria based on sequence data. All right, so let's go through this just one more time. I know you guys know it because almost everybody did well on this on the test. But just remember the origin of eukaryotes is basically from sharing information from other cells, whether it be taking up DNA and recombining it in a transformation kind of way, or taking up things like a mitochondria is taking up a heterotrophic cell, an aerobic heterotrophic cell, or taking up a cyanobacteria that eventually ended up being a chloroplast. All right, so you can see now how this concept is kind of an extension of this. Alrighty, let's click there and let me address any questions. Any questions? Okay, so what we'll go through on Thursday is we'll go through diversity, And that's just kind of a long hashing out of the big groups and a very coarse level of resolution. We'll go through some of those big groups and some of the different things they can do. Tuesday we'll have a review session. Thursday you'll have an exam. So for Thursday, notice, I put the paper up for read. So read that by Thursday, the reading. The external reading. Oh, is it like if you were in the movie? You were in the movie like a tail?
Phil's an idiot, 'cause Phil just got to the teacher program. He's stuck.